All right, everybody. Welcome back to the fourth,
Fourth? Yeah, I think we're in the
fourth
fourth.
episode of the Brew Crew Podcast. It's me, Julian. I'm joined by Chev, and once again, we all have a lot of cool things to talk about. Chev, why don't you tell us what's on the docket today?
Yeah, so today we want to go over some of our favorite cards based on particular themes from Jumpstart. Want to quickly talk about the changes to Arena coming with M21, and one of my favorite announcements that comes along with it. I'll finally be able to play on my Mac, and I won't be beholden to my desktop computer. So we'll get to all of that, and once again, welcome to the Brew Crew. Available on our website. We're on YouTube, and we're starting out on the Twitter sphere. But wherever you get your Magic content, we're going to be there.
Yep, and we'll have links to all that stuff in the description. Definitely come interact with us. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us what
We're lonely.
yeah, that's true. I can't. I'm just stuck here with Chev all the time, so it's rough. So, like Chev said, Jumpstart is going to be a primary focus of our cast, but there's probably a lot of people who don't really know what Jumpstart is. So, Chev, can you explain to the people what this supplementary product, what it's all about?
Yeah. So Jumpstart is this like weird combination of things that's basically like, what if we took the experience of drafting and kind of made it easier for you know, you don't need to draft through three packs. You buy two Jumpstart packs that are each 20 cards, include all the basic lands you need, and then you can just smash them together and have a ready to play 40 card deck. So it's really kind of like an easier way to jump into a game without needing to go through a drafting process or a sealed process. And probably the best part about it is there's 121, I think, different Jumpstart packs out there of 46 different themes. So, you open a 20 card pack of pirates, or archaeology, or unicorns, or dogs, or cats, and then you mash that with another 20 card deck, and you get ridiculous combinations like walls and dogs versus reanimate and zombies. Well, I guess that's kind of on theme for reanimate and zombies, but the idea that anytime you play, it's going to be radically different, and you just buy these two 20 card packs, and then you're ready to go. Is the gist of it, and it's also an engine to provide new cards, new commander staples, and reprints, since we can all use more of those.
Right, definitely. I really like what Wizards did here. I think this is a very
Hmm.
fresh take on drafting slash sealed slash constructed. It's kind of all the different versions of the
Yeah,
formats mixed into one. There's cards that are good in just regular normal limited, all the way up to cards that are probably going to see, um, you know, eternal format slash commander play, and everything in between is great for if you're just playing at your kitchen table. So we definitely want to commend Wizards on this, just being like very forward thinking. And
yeah. You don't see many changes to the limited sort of roster that Wizards can produce. So seeing anything that kind of plays on it in a new and exciting way is always something we're here for.
yeah, and it's I think this is the most, before this, the last draft sort of focus set was conspiracy, right? The second conspiracy,
Yeah,
which our
yeah. The
our
last
play
time they
group,
tried to do something unique with draft, I would say, is the
right?
conspiracy.
Our play group is always very partial to those because we have enough for a small pod. So whenever
Hmm.
one of those comes out, we always like to pick up packs and run an event or two. So this is, I mean, we already have plans to run something for this. So we will I'll probably provide a little tournament report or something, see what happens, see what we liked, what we didn't like, and of course who won. Gotta put those bragging rights out there for everybody. But so, Chev, you and I took a long, hard look through all these new cards and also reprints,
Hmm.
and we have, actually, we might even have exactly 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 different categories that we kind of broke them down, and we each picked our personal favorite card, or maybe cards, in each category just to highlight in this set. So that's kind of our next segment, is we're going to go through and compare what we thought. Um, and I think the first one that we want to talk about is, what is the best reprint? So what is the best card that you're excited to see come back? Chev, you wanna start with that one?
So if I'm reading the same notes that you are, I think our first category is best money reprint.
Yeah, but I'm gonna start
Um,
with best. reprint because
All right,
we can
all
get
right.
into the financials a little bit later, but let's just talk about what's the card you were most happy to see come back.
So honestly, I'm going to go with the commander favorite Ristic study for this one. I know it would be overly optimistic to hope that this will cause the price on it to go down by any meaningful amount, considering it was just reprinted in the mystery boosters at the same effective rarity. Just to kind of touch on that a little bit, every card in the mythic boosters, based on their slots in the pack, since that had a different pack filling sort of strategy, had mythic rarity. And so, because there's 121 different possible packs in Jumpstart, every card has at least mythic rarity. If it shows up in one pack, it's going to have mythic rarity. So, we're seeing Ristic Study again being printed at mythic level. And the price probably won't go down, but I do really like seeing these classic commander cards slowly picking up. As Wizards takes more note of the secondary market, and we see things all over the place that are seeing multiple reprints this year, just to hopefully drive the price down even just a little bit, and just making it more available to people out there, because Prophecy, certainly wasn't a big enough print run for the amount of people that want to play blue in Command. What about you, Julian?
Yeah, I actually am a big fan of Ristic Study. I actually didn't want to put it on there just because I know a lot of people are have gripes with it, and honestly, I don't think it's necessarily a card that needs to see more play, but I am happy that it's going to be slightly more available. But my personal favorite reprint was Herald's Horn. Now, if y'all don't know what
Ooh,
Herald's Horn
yeah,
is, it is an artifact for 3 mana, and then when it enters, you choose a creature type, and then all the creature types that you cast cost 1 generic less to cast. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, hold up, let me just try and find the card real quick. At the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card of your library, and if it is that creature type, am I correct? Am I correct? Am I correct? Yeah, at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card of the chosen type, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. So it's also um, card advantage as well as mana advantage. Now, this was a card that was printed in the 2017 or 2018 Commander
17.
decks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
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 ones that were
2017
tribal.
was the tribal commander.
Yeah, cats, dragons, etc., etc. And it was only an uncommon in those decks, which means it was in all of them or 3 out of the 4 or something like that. But it
Yeah,
was
it can
so
be in up to 3 of the 4, but I'm not sure how many it was actually. I think uncommon means it's in more than one,
yeah, yeah.
but I don't know how many.
Okay. Well, it was in multiple of those decks, and it still was an extremely expensive card. I don't have the exact price point, but I want to say it was pushing $20, which is
I think it was
ridiculous
up to
for.
17.
Yeah, yeah. So pretty expensive for just a random 3-man artifact uncommon from a commander set. So I'm super happy that this is coming in because tribal is such a staple strategy for commander, for casual play in general. I know, Chev, your first deck
Yep.
ever was an elf deck. I've had many
Yeah.
different tribal builds, either in more competitive formats or in just us playing, hanging out at one of our houses throughout the years. So this being accessible by a lot more people, I think, is a great thing. Also, there are just a lot of tribal packs you can get in Jumpstart. There's goblins, there's elves, there's
Oh
dragons,
yeah,
there's
90. I think 90% of them are tribal, just because
yeah,
it's so much cooler when you have that sort of unique theme that takes them together. Like some of the themes, I'm not 100% sure. We'll kind of go into the themes a little bit later. It seems like after 40 themes or so, they grabbed a couple more to round it out. But the tribal ones, there's some serious power behind.
yes, exactly. So the fact that they're reprinting this, I think, hits everywhere they need to on the spectrum. And I also just think it's a quite a powerful card and definitely an include in any sort of tribal deck that you want to do. So that's our calls for the best reprints. Now we're going to talk about the best reprints in terms of monetary value, secondary market, things like that. So, Trev, what do you got?
So for this one, I said Crater Hoof. Now, like I was going through some of the reprints and cheating a little bit to see where their price was prior to being shown off in Jumpstart. And Craterhoof, having only been printed in I think Avacyn Restored, it has a very small number of copies out there compared to things that have at least been printed 1 or 2 times. And so, it has the best potential to drop by a significant margin. I think the one I was going between was also Exquisite Blood, which, ironically enough, also from Avacyn Restored, also never been reprinted. And, Avacyn Restored is, I think, slightly before the modern era, so the print run was definitely a little bit smaller. Not as small as, the old sets, like where Rhystic Study was coming from, but, definitely enough that this, anything at Mythic Rarity nowadays being printed will definitely show up more often than a mythic rare or rare from those previous sets. So, I believe that while Craterhoof is still too powerful a card to go down by a significant margin, I think it does have the potential for a large drop, maybe $10, $15. And before long, it'll be back up again. But, if you grab it at that point, you'll definitely be happy.
Agreed. Big fan of Craterhoof. Very powerful card. Also, uh, noted that this will now be in historic, which will be interesting because
Yes.
green ramp decks are already
They didn't
quite
really need
powerful.
any help, did they, Julian?
They don't. I was already a little irked that Ulamog got printed in the most recent historic anthology. So I mean, whatever you got to do, we want to make historic exciting, and all these people who've been casting Enray's Forerunners, they're in for a whole new world when they get to cast Craterhoof. So
Yeah. A whole new amount of it.
yes,
Exciting.
exactly. Yeah, that's believe it or not, a lot more damage when you play Craterhoof over Enray's, even though they have similar effects.
I know.
I
I'm personally, I'm hoping that Craterhoof comes down enough so I can slot that into my Hepatra deck instead of, I think Endray's Forerunners is currently in there. But if I can get all my snakes just a little bit bigger, I'm certainly not going to be complaining.
I think that is an upgrade that you should make, sir. I think that's just probably a strict upgrade. So yeah, when you open one of those, you can do it. My best money reprint is ironically also a mythic rare that is mono green, and it's Selvala Heart of the Wilds. Um, Another card that just did not was not opened that much. It was in the second conspiracy, Take the Crown, which we referenced
Hmm.
earlier. Is that one of those specialty draft formats? It was a mythic rare back there, so a smaller supplemental run mythic rare, does not equal well for something being affordable when there's just not that many out there. But it's a 3 mana Elf Scout 2/3 that essentially says when any creature enters the battlefield, um, if its power is greater than each other creature's power, you can draw a card, and then you can pay a green and tap it, and you add X mana in any combination of colors where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. This is just an
Hmm.
extremely powerful card, just like Craterhoof.
Oh, it's so
This
good.
is a commander staple. It's even a very powerful CEDH deck, and I'm sure also if you're just running any sort of, you know, casual kitchen table magic, this is something that you'd want to have in any sort of um, big green deck, which once again is that's every Timmy's dream. So this facilitates
Yeah.
everything you want to
And I
do.
mean, the price has just been bodied too since it got printed in mystery boosters too. And I think that made it drop, $10, $15 at that printing. And I'm not sure this one will have the same effect, but a more accessible Selvala is something that everyone kind of wants.
Exactly. I mean,
And
for
I
reference,
considered.
oops, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say for
I
reference, before mystery boosters, Selvala was I think approaching fifty
think
dollars.
40s.
40s to yeah, 40s
Yeah.
to maybe 50 just for the non-foil. God forbid you wanted to, bling
Oh,
yourself
yeah.
out.
Yeah, I actually considered switching my Eldrazi deck behind Selvala, but as I was building it, I just found it was too nasty. Like, I like the Eldrazi for their absolute ridiculous nature to get too big too fast, but like that was too big. It was too scary even for me.
Yeah, I mean, I supported when you showed me that list, and I was like, this will definitely be a powerful deck. It's going to do some crazy things, but I definitely breathed a sigh of relief when you said, I think I'm just going to stick to colorless. Maintain the dignity of the Eldrazi, because yeah, that could have gotten out of
Don't
hand.
get in line with those green creatures that produce too much mana too fast.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One thing I do want to mention is that Chev and I have been talking a lot about these cards in relation to Commander, and I think, given the nature of this set, that's where a lot of these cards are going to end up, since technically these
Hmm.
cards go into Eternal formats, so Legacy and Vintage. I'm not seeing many that are powerful or unique enough to
Yeah,
slot into any decks there. Those are pretty tuned as it is, but um,
right.
where all those cards who just come up short of those, but are still powerful or provide a redundancy of effect are great for commanders. So that is where a lot of
Or
the
just
cards
smashy
really.
enough. Like it doesn't. It needs to have cute art, be an absolute tank, or just a ridiculous effect, like we saw with that 6 mana Crypticist command back in M21. Right, not
Oh
back in M20.
yes,
Tomorrow in
exactly.
M21. All
Yes,
those things that are just absolutely bats. Easily slot into commander, and the format's better for it.
right, exactly. So that is where a lot of our perspective is going on, just due to the nature of this set. So anyway, so those are our picks for best money reprints. Chev would tell you, the standard thing. If you open them up, awesome. If you need to pick them up as singles, just wait a slight bit just for them to bottom out, but don't be waiting too long because, um, like Chev said, these things do technically have a very high rarity, so it's not like there's going to be a huge drop from everyone opening them.
Exactly.
All right,
So
Chev.
let's jump into some of the newer cards. Julian, why don't you tell us what your favorite non-legend from Jumpstart is? New card specific.
Yes. So I actually picked two cards. One that I think is
Greedy.
an extremely powerful card, and one that I want to give an honorable mention just because I think it's a nice little pickup. The first one's going to be Blessed Sanctuary. So this is a rare enchantment for 3 white white. Prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and creatures you control. Boom. Immediately, gets rid of any sort of green removal in fight, and also any sort of burn, um, any sort of aggro red strategy like that. Easy. Also, whenever a non-token
Yeah.
creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white unicorn creature token. Um, if you are in any sort of deck, well, once again, talking about Commander, most white decks want to go wide, whether they're mono white or they're
Yeah.
Naya, Selesnya, anything like that. A lot of those are token strategies. So essentially being able to double up on your tokens, and also 2/2 white unicorns, that's a lot bigger than a 1/1. That's 100% bigger than a 1/1, which is what a lot of things make. So those are nothing to shake a stick
Yeah.
at. God forbid you're doing any sort of doubling season, then it just gets ridiculous.
And the other thing to consider, Julian, is how powerful this is for Boros burn decks. Something like Firesong and Sunspeaker, where you can have a deck of all these damage based board wipes, but all of your creatures remain untouched. Like that could
That
cause some serious stuff going
is
on.
not even something that I considered, but you're right. If you are running, I mean, obviously, if you're in white, you can run things like Wrath of God. But yeah, if you are
Exactly.
running the damage-based wraths like Blasphemous Act, or even if you're running something like an Earthquake, um, they all of a sudden turn into Plague Winds. So you don't lose anything, which is a good call because that's definitely a route that I know a lot of those sort of decks go down. So I think Blessed Sanctuary is a very cool card. White has been getting a lot of love recently when it comes to EDH, and I think this is just another thing that you're going to want to slot into a lot of those decks. So that's that. And then my honorable mention is Living Lightning, which is a 3/2 for 4 mana, 3 in a red, and it just says when Living Lightning dies, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. I think this is just a great, nice little utility include. Not exactly the best on rate at 4 mana, but when you're playing red, you're going to be attacking, so you can just attack in, and then, or you can just use it to block. And if you're playing anything like black red, you're going to be sacrificing a lot, and then being able to get back just a removal spell like a Hero's Downfall, or if you're getting back
Oh,
something
for
like
sure.
a Comet Storm or an Exsanguinate, it's just a nice utility to be able to kind of rebuy those killer spells that you can get when you're playing a spell slinging decks in red. So a little nod to Living Lightning, just a a workman's uncommon, but I think it'll definitely have a home in a few decks. All right, Chev, what do you got?
So so my pick for the best new card is Allosaurus Shepherd. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with this ridiculous elf, it is a 1 green 1/1. Can't be countered. Okay. Green spells you control can't be countered. Okay. And then for 6 mana until end of turn, each elf creature you control has base power and toughness 5/5 and becomes a dinosaur in addition to its other types. Which, I mean, you had me at a mana sink elf that can raise the base power and toughness before going into battle with all of my elves in any sort of elf tribal strategy. But then you add on the text that green spells I control can't be countered. I mean, insane, and it seems so pushed. And I mean, like Julian was just mentioning, green and historic certainly didn't need any help. And I don't know enough about the format to see if this will see any, inclusion in it. But wow, it's a lot going on. And then especially for any of the Elf Ball Commander decks out there, like this is going to put in some serious work. And I just have to give my hat off to the little guy, or I guess
Right.
big guy if he's riding a dinosaur. But the point is, it's a lot going on. And then
Yeah,
I would say that
he seems a little tall for an elf.
he drank a lot of milk as a kid, helped his bones.
The dinosaur milk? That seems a little sketchy to me. Yeah, I like this card a lot too. I think this goes into basically wherever you want to play elves. I think you want to play some number of these, whether it's modern, legacy. Um, it's looking like historic is going to have an elf deck, and obviously commander. This seems, you
Yeah,
know, amazing. So good,
I was
good
surprised this
pick.
guy wasn't legendary. I remember talking to Julian, telling him about switching up his Rishkar deck into an elf ball, that Allosaurus Shepherd should be his commander. But the fact it's not, I had no words just for the sheer amount of abilities going on.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because you're not punished by running more than one now, really, if you're running in a regular constructed format, though you can't have it as your commander. So it's trade-offs, but still
Yeah.
fairly very powerful card. All right, now let's talk about the best new card, but let's talk about the best legend, someone that can be your commander. Who's going to be heading up your next deck, Chev?
So for this one, I spent a lot of time looking at them, and there's Tiny Bones, who's really cute, and then there's the Goblin Legendary, who could finally give Krenko, a run for best Goblin Commander, even being a little more expensive. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed seeing Ineos the Gale Force coming out here, as it's 2 blue and 3 legendary creature Jin, flying, and then for 2 and hybrid white blue, attacking creatures with flying get +1/+1 until end of turn. Pretty cool. But the kicker, whenever 3 or more creatures you control with flying attack, each player gains control of a non-land permanent of your choice, controlled by the player to their right. Now it's going to cause a lot of headaches. But most of my interest in it is, for a while I've really been trying to put together a Jin and Ifrit deck, based around that Middle Eastern mythology, and seeing some of that in Arabian Nights, which obviously we're not going back to anytime soon due to the properties that are involved in making that. But finally having a legendary Jin that you can kind of rally the forces behind, that's pretty freaking cool, and I'm excited to see what people do with that.
I would agree.
What?
I would actually. Ineas was also one of the cards that I picked, but I saw that you picked them, so I'll throw another one. But I do really like Ineas. I think that Blue White Flyers is a thing that Wizards has been continuing to push. I mean, we've seen it in
Oh yeah.
last year's core
I mean,
set with
considering it's also a draft archetype for M21, like blue white
yeah. I
flyers is
mean, it's
definitely what they're
kind
trying
of like a
to
draft
wink at.
archetype for like every other set almost. So they've
Yeah.
just accumulated enough Flyers Matters cards, and now having this as a commander is just
Hmm.
really nice. Um, also,
It's a
uh,
beautiful payoff.
I think the art on this is sweet, and I'm
Oh, it's so cool.
so Chad. Maybe you could clarify this because I've heard that there's not going to be any foils for this, and I think that this would be uh, ridiculously beautiful in foil. But we're not going to be able to get this in
Oh,
foil.
it would be an incredible foil, but I believe you're right that there are no foils in Jumpstart. I believe it's all regular cards.
Uh, that is unfortunate because there are certainly some cards here that would look really really nice in foil. All right, so my
Well, hey,
best.
fingers crossed some of them come back in Commander Legends, because that's supposed to come out this year too, right?
That's true. That's true. That's a whole. I mean, we'll cover that when we get to it, but that's a whole other can of worms. So my pick for best new legend is another white card. White's been getting a lot of love, and I want to show
Oh,
it
you
off.
picked the
This is
unicorn, didn't you?
I picked the unicorn. This is a meal, the blessed. I think that's how you say it. Emiel. I'm just gonna call it a meal, the
That
blessed.
sounds good to me.
Legendary creature unicorn, 2 white for a 4/4. It has an ability where you can pay 3 generic to a blink a target creature that you control, and then whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you can pay either a green or a white. And if you do, you put a 1/1 counter on it. If it's a unicorn, you get to put 2 1/1 counters on it. I don't think unicorn tribal is something that's gonna really happen anytime soon. I think a lot of people are going to try it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think
Yeah.
this is just a really good value-based commander. White is already kind of in that chunk of colors that wants to be blinking stuff, whether you're in blue white or you're in Bant, if you're playing like things like Rune of the Hidden Realm, or if you're playing like Brago. So this is
Yep.
already a nice include there. Just being able to blink things, also can just save things. If I point a Doom Blade at one of your things, you can save it, and then just being able to buff up all your creatures when they come in is also just a really nice effect. So this, I think this is going to be in more decks than head more decks, but I think it's just a very powerful include, and you can definitely make a sweet green white, just like go big, go wide deck with this. So good on you, Wizards.
Oh, for
Just
sure.
another niche that you're filling out. What's
I
our
think they're
next
trying
card?
to get all the major creature types to get at least one legendary creature behind them.
They
Help
definitely
out
did.
everyone in the
They
world.
definitely hit a lot of them in this set, which is cool, as we were talking about with all the tribal synergies. All right.
With that, I think that brings us to best art that we think
Oh,
of the set.
there has been a lot of good art in this set. What is your
So, Julian, what's yours?
So I have two. I think the first one that I really really like is Trusty Retriever. So there's been a lot of like memes and good stuff about all the dogs coming in, and there's all these cute dogs, and I think this is actually the best one. So Trusty Retriever is a 3 and a white for a 2/3 dog. When it enters, you can either put a 1/1 counter on it, or you can return target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So reasonable card as it is. But it's just this little puppy. He's just running across the battlefield. He's got a sword in his mouth. Like he's got his own like little dog armor, and he just looks so happy. He's like, "Oh man, I got this sweet sword. I'm gonna come bring it back to my master." Just having so much fun, despite like the army in the background, and there's like arrows all around him and stuff. So it's just a really bright art, really cute art. So I had to give a nod to that one. What do you got, Chev?
Mine is actually branching evolution, which is the new half of doubling season, or a specific half where
Okay.
it if one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, twice that many +1/+1 counters are put on a creature instead. And the text is really important because I found that this card, the art just really vibed with what the card was trying to do. So it's called branching evolution, and if you look at the art on this card, you see a snake with two heads, a cat with two tails, deer with two sets of antlers. And I just love that little gimmick in there. How it's talking about your creatures are getting weirdly bigger because there's this change in their evolution, and even the flavor text that talking about like something incredible is happening, and then you see that reflected in the creatures that are shown, and that kind of like synergy just it had me. I even if I don't have a place to put this, since my only counter deck right now is a -1/-1, I might pick up a copy just for the art alone because I just found that really cool how they were able to draw those parallels together.
Yeah, I really like this art too. It's kind of almost got a bit of a watercolor feel to it, and yeah, the art is just it's hilarious. It looks like there's like bunnies with two sets of ears.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I see flamingos in there somewhere, but I can't tell if they have like four legs and
Right, what
stuff.
they have two of. I feel like they might have two sets of legs, but I'm not fully sure. Or it
Uh,
could just be the fact there's two of them.
kind of. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that's definitely a nice card.
It definitely feels like the artist had a fantastic time just trying to think of animals to throw in here and then,
Oh yeah.
how to show the duplication affecting it.
I can't even imagine what like the prompt from Wizards when they commissioned this was.
Yeah.
Like, just draw animals that look really pretty but have two of something, so everything's slightly off. Like, I also do like the flavor text. The first line is it is it the water? Coming from someone who works in the environmental field, it's like, oh, is there something in the water? It's funny that there's all these
Yeah, I
like
know. From an environmental impact, this is very bad. You do
yeah
not want your animals having two heads. But
right,
from
but it's
a magic standpoint,
it's
if
amusing.
my Risk card deck is all of a sudden twice as powerful, I'm not going to mind too much.
Yeah, and this is an effect that uh a lot of people have been have wanted. So it's a nice little redundancy.
Yeah.
I would like to throw an honorable mention to the new land cycle, the thriving, etc. So they
Yes.
add a mana of you know one color, and then it enters tapped, and you get to choose another color. So thriving bluff enters, can add a red on its own, and then you can choose another color, so you can kind of get what you need to. But all the arts on these are excellent. I personally think Thriving Grove, which is the green mana one, is the best, but they all are actually really nice. So I definitely
Yeah, not
recommend all
only
of
are they
these.
beautiful, but they're also fantastic mana fixers for like, budget 3 color decks. Because at two color, they're, slightly worse than the gain lands just because they don't gain you that one life. But like, and anything higher than that, this is great for, fixing on the fly and getting exactly what you need at a time when you might not be sure. And so if I was trying to worry about any sort of budget when I was building a 3 or more color deck, these would be easy includes a lot of the time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, anything 3+ colors, I think you're including at least one or two of these. All right, so that's
Hmm.
best art in the set. Now, you know, kind of off that, we're going to talk about what's the best basic land. So, um, I actually picked one for each basic land type, but what do you have, Chev?
So, I mean, obviously there needs to be a shout out for the Phyrexian Swamp. Um, Having all of its text in Phyrexian, I think that's going to be bananas. And I hope to pick up as many as possible or open up a Phyrexian pack on when Jumpstart comes out. I am a little bit bummed that there are only one copy of these cool lands per Jumpstart pack, but it out of the rest of them, my picks are between the Pirate Island, which if you guys aren't familiar, I believe it's Island 052. I say reading Julian, who did more research into the exact
It is
number
Island
of it than I,
052, and that
but
might be my
it's
favorite
it's
island as well.
it's this classic sort of, I really love the early islands of Magic, and I actually just bought a bunch of them for like 30 cents each earlier today. But these classic, like, tropical waters and the sandy beach coming out of it in the middle. And, I love how the islands that are put out each represent the plane that they're kind of shown from. But these early classic ones from Dominaria just really resonate with me. And then to get that, but with pirate ships, above it is phenomenal. From there, I have to go to the forest number, I think it's 075, which is also Julian's pick. It's the one from the Defender deck, and it has this like
I didn't realize they
specific
overlap so
band.
much.
I know, great minds and all that.
Yeah.
It's a straight bamboo path like down the middle, and it really resonates with the old APAC land that came out. I think a couple looked kind of like that back in the day, but this one was just like that single path through the forest and being a sort of unique feeling, as almost kind of you're being drawn into this sort of unique type of forest to walk down it. And if you're looking for something similar, I believe it's the elf forest, where it looks almost the exact same, but instead of bamboo, it's spears. And so, just seeing this as like directly looking at the two, I almost like to think that in the defender one, it's the elves are hiding behind it and they get a little more aggressive with it. But I think those are my two favorite lands, not counting the Phyrexian Swamp.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think the Phyrexian Swamp is the art's pretty cool in that too, but obviously a lot of the appeal comes from the text. And I would agree with you on
Yeah,
those
just
other
being that
two.
much more unique.
Yeah, I would agree with you on those other two. I really like the bamboo path forest, and then the pirate ship island was very cool. A couple other ones I want to shout out. My personal favorite swamp was, I don't know what pack it's from, but it's basically this giant skeletal hand that is like glowing in ominous blue energy, and it has what
Yeah,
appears
what
to
is that?
be a big pool of tar or maybe Phyrexian oil, kind of like flowing off it. It looks
Yeah.
super sweet. For anyone who is uh, watched or read Berserk, it looks like the hand that the God Hand comes in on. Chev, I don't know you get that reference, but one of these days we'll get you there. But I think that one looks super
One of
sweet.
these days.
One of these days, I think that one looks super sweet. I think um, I have to shout out the dogs planes. It's
Yep.
I mean, I think it would already be my favorite even if it didn't have the dog. It's just like these luscious plains. There's like these nice
Yeah.
flowers sprouting in the foreground, a nice like beautiful tree, and then as you go off in the distance, the plains take on all these rainbow of colors. And then also, of course, there's just a big old doggy right there, right in the front, who's looking hella cute. So I couldn't not shout that one out. And I think my favorite
A
box.
complete, change of pace from the cat forest, if you're familiar, where instead of it is a lush forest again, but instead of the cat being all playful, you see like I think it's a tiger sort of like hiding and ready to attack.
Oh yeah,
Definitely
he's
gives you a difference in opinion on how Wizards is taking these two tribes artistically.
yeah, that cat is not looking too friendly. That that plains is 045 by the way, and the swamp I was talking about is 055. And then my favorite mountain is 068, which I'm assuming is the lightning one because it's basically like a
Oh, definitely.
it looks like primordial Earth where everything is like still kind of molten, and there's like all these mountains. The sky is like all red and ominous clouds, except all the
Yeah.
mountains have these streaks of. I'm assuming it's supposed to be magma, but it looks like lightning. They're like neon red slash pink, just running all down them, and it just looks really cool. So I want to shout that one out too. I think I might actually try and pick some of these up for commander decks. If given
Yeah,
the
it's the
chance.
real struggle between like, do I go with my full art, treatment of the lands, or do I get these that have just the crazy art on half the card?
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing about um, Commander is that each deck can kind of take on a different theme. So if you have one that's like you're fully pimping out, you can have like all your foil full arts, and then especially if one of these themes resonates into what you're
Right,
playing.
exactly.
Like
Yeah.
if you're playing your pirate commander deck, you're getting 35 of these pirate islands, and you're gonna run them. You know what I mean? So that's very cool that Wizards I'm just looking at one of these swamps, and it's like just a giant eyeball, and there's like all these arms coming out around it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out
What's
which one that
that?
was. I feel like it has to be reanimate because it's like stuff coming out of there, but
Maybe.
I
Or
don't
is
know. I'm
it?
not
Do
familiar
you think
enough with
it's the
all the
witch
themes.
one? I know there's one about
Oh,
witches.
Witch, that's true, right? Because Bog Brew Witch has that whole thing with like an eye of newt, so that's definitely a witch's stew.
Yeah. Speaking of witches, our last category is actually what is the best theme or our favorite theme or however you wanna categorize it. So you said that there's like what almost nearly 50 different packs to choose
Yeah,
from.
there's
What do you?
46 different themes,
Oh man.
over 121 different packs. So some of the themes, like the classic Reanimate, or I think Lightning has some, but a bunch of the bigger themes have multiple different deck lists with various different cards either being
Yeah.
reprinted or the new legendaries.
I think you can have some of them have up to four different variations. Most of them I think only have two
Yeah,
or three. Yeah. So um I see that we have one in common, and that's the elves pack. I thought that obviously the one with Craterhoof is the best, but I thought all of the elves packs looked pretty good. There's some good reprints in there, like Elvish Archdruid, and also I
yeah,
think
you're
a
either
lot of
getting
those.
like all your it's either you're getting a Craterhoof, which is fantastic, or you're getting an Allosaurus Shepherd, which is an amazing way to jump into the world of elves, or it's a lot of set pieces that elves generally need to operate in any casual environment. So you're kind of like, no matter how you end up, you're ending up with kind of like a starter build, or at least 20 cards of a elf deck wherever you want to take it, or to upgrade your existing elf deck. So it's kind of hard to not see elves as one of the best themes here, since when you're scrolling through the deck list, I don't think I saw a single elf deck list that I would be kind of like, oh, okay, and not super excited to open.
Yeah, I think it's also just going to be very strong as one of the halves of your deck in
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
in
considering like,
just playing the
we're
format.
talking reprints that are either worth an insane amount of money or just incredibly synergistic with the tribe. Like elves have been a big part of Magic since the beginning, and I think Jumpstart's going to be no exception.
Agreed. Another green one that I actually want to shout out is I think the Garrick one is actually pretty cool. There's only
Hmm.
one uh, version of it, um, and not that it's great for reprint value, but it does have the new Garrick Planeswalker from M21. It's got his
Yeah,
Harbinger, which I think is a reasonable card. It's got like pro black, and then when it hits, you can look at the top however many and put a creature into your hand, so it's card advantage. But I also think it's just going to be very strong in this environment. It's just got a lot of good green value
yeah.
spells, and it's just going to be an easy way for someone to just pick this up, you know, put creatures down and just get them into the red zone. So I think the Garrick pack is actually a pretty good pick.
And my second one was Phyrexian. So Phyrexian is one of those that's like there is again only one deck list of it, and it has that Phyrexian Swamp. It's got Sheoldred and Phyrexian Reclamation. Like it's again, it's hard for me to approach these by not, trying to evaluate how much I want the cards in my collection, as well as, how excited I am to play with them. But all of that power too. It's good for your kind of like bottom line, and it's also really good to play with because I can't, having access to Phyrexian Reclamation in a limited environment, like, and you can just keep bringing back your best cards over and over again. That is insane, and it's something that you'd expect to see in the reanimation theme if it wasn't here.
Definitely. Yeah, I somehow have never had a Shieldred in my whole life, and I really think that I need to get one. So I'm gonna be
Yeah, no,
trying
neither
to
have I. I just haven't had a place for a giant clunky black legendary. But that doesn't mean
somehow
that
get one.
I'm right to not have a place for a giant clunky black legendary. It might just mean I need to brew something up.
Right. So, Chev, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that covers everything we wanted to hit in terms of Jumpstart. Just
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
remind
Obviously,
listeners.
the entire spoiler is up on Scryfall and other sites. And if you want to take a look at all the other cards or let us know your favorites, that sort of thing, of course, shout us out and let us know if we missed anything big. But I think that's definitely our 1,000-foot overview of the things that we're most excited for in Jumpstart.
Definitely, and I'd say we're both pretty excited. This is shaping up to be an interesting set, to say the least. So,
Yeah, it definitely is something that like I can totally see, if there was a harder time trying to convince other people to try Magic before, having this sort of format where you can just grab two with, clear defined themes, throw them together and be able to show someone quickly, what a game of Magic is like. I think not only is it really good as an introductory product, but I think it's also really fun like when you're trying to go out and do something with your friends and maybe instead of setting up a full draft or you only have like two or three people, like you can just grab a couple of these packs and go. So I really like it for the environments that Jumpstart is really helping build in its inception.
agreed, agreed. So let's address one more thing in regards to Jumpstart before we cover our last few topics and get out of here, and that is the financial impact. So Jumpstart obviously has new cards, but there are a lot of reprints. So why don't we turn to our handy boy Chev, and he's going to talk to us about finance.
The big thing with Jumpstart is it's since it's kind of taking the place of the summer innovation series. Well, I guess it is the summer innovation set. But the big thing here is kind of like what Julian was talking about earlier, how a lot of these sets they please hold off on if you see something you really like, something that's new or something a reprint, don't buy them certainly before the set comes out, but you might even want to wait a little bit after the set comes out to pick up these cards. And like I mentioned last week with mystery boosters hitting their sort of 3-month period, or that sweet spot after a certain amount of product has been opened, um, uh, but we're not seeing a sort of a dry. You can still get packs if you want them, is what I'm getting at. But that sweet spot of like 1 month in, when they're opened a lot, there's a lot more on the market, then jump in and pick up the cards you want. But certainly don't wait too long for the inventory to dry up either. And the other big thing is, we're talking a lot about Jumpstart, but don't forget that M21 is just around the corner with the pre-release this weekend. And, something that was kind of brought up on Commander Central, another podcast, that I thought was really important is like looking at M21 and seeing again those reprints you really want. You should also be thinking about the 3-month window when you'd be picking up these Jumpstart cards to also pick up some staples of M21. Because if you look at cards from M19 like Crucible of Worlds or any of the other cards that got reprinted in that set, they're now way higher in price than they were when they originally came out. So even if it's not something that you'll use tomorrow, thinking of these high valued reprints as an investment in your future, if you think it's a strategy you might ever incorporate, definitely look at this again in a couple months, and I'm sure we'll be here to remind you to grab those cards while they're hopefully at their cheapest.
Definitely. Thank you, Chev. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some shopping pretty soon. So I'm going to rely rely on Chev as my financial advisor when it comes to that sort of thing. So, last on the docket, we just have a few things we're going to discuss regarding Arena. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yeah, I think that's it. We've got a lot of big changes coming here with the new announcement for Arena's State of the Game that I think was dropped yesterday from Wizards. A couple
Yesterday
things that we're
being
really
June
hyped about.
23rd.
Yes, yesterday being June 23rd.
Okay.
A couple things on it, but I'm certainly more excited about one of them than others. But Julian, what kind of things from it, or do we want to kind of go over all the big changes and then kind of talk about how we think, what we think of them?
Yeah, so I'll just read off all the major changes real quick from this thing, and then we can discuss what we need. So first off, like Chev said, Arena is finally coming to Mac. So if you are a Mac person, you can play that on there. It goes live with the release or the pre-release of Core Set 21. So tomorrow, which is June 25th, everything should be available. So that's cool. Just bringing more players into the game, making it more available. There is another update on Arena about pack collation and reprints. So essentially, if you get a card that has the same art, that is the same card and has the same art, such as the temples, which are being reprinted in Core Set 2021, and they were reprinted in last Core Set, Core Set 2020. If you already own 4 of Temple of Triumph or whatever, you're not going to open those until you have opened. You're not going to open those from Core Set 2021 or Core Set 2020 um, until you have all the other rares and mythics from those sets. So basically, it just
Right.
is
Yeah.
some there's a lot of nuance to the way it's worded, but it's essentially duplicate protection. But it only works for cards that have the same art. So if in next set Zendikar Rising they reprint whatever Evolving Wilds, I guess, and it's got a new art, that will not be affected by this coding change. But this is
Now, keep in
still
mind, Julian, that this is only with rares. So I believe it's commons and uncommons you'll still get at the same rate from those packs. They're not worried too much about reprint protection in those.
yes. Okay, fair enough. Evolving Wilds was a bad pick, but if they reprint Fabled Passage in Zendikar Rising,
Yeah,
with new Zendikar
but
art,
fingers crossed.
I mean, Fabled Passage is a card that people should just have more access to, so I would be okay with that if they did that. Even though I already do have my full place on Arena. So once again, this is just nice, just protection, because rare and mythic wild cards can come at a premium. Also, Jumpstart is going to be coming to Arena, so we just talked about all of our picks. So if you're jumping into uh, those limited events, they will be limited events on Arena. If you're jumping into those, we just gave you our picks. There also is a list of 20 cards from Jumpstart that are not going to be on Arena, and they're swapping them out for different cards on Arena. Chev and I were looking through this list. It We're a little puzzled as to the card choices. Why? There are a few such as Lightning Bolt, Reanimate, Rhystic Study, cards that either would be annoying on Arena like Rhystic Study or Lightning Bolt and Reanimate. Might
Yeah, it
be a
might be
little
a
bit
little too powerful.
too powerful for Historic, which is what all these cards are going to go into. But for the most part, we're unsure why things like Draconic Roar and Flame Tongue Kavu have been replaced, especially since the replaced cards are not even necessarily cards that have already been on Arena. Um,
Right,
so
yeah. For some of them, it definitely it seems like they wanted to make sure these individual other cards were making it onto Arena with cards like Goblin Oriflamme,
yeah,
which is red and one attacking creatures you control get +1/+0 for a more aggressive strategy, or Fanatic of Mogus. When it enters, it deals damage to each opponent equal to your devotion to red. These interesting, cool cards that synergize well with cards that are already out. But at the same time, more than half of the list are cards that are already in standard right now, or were previously in standard and already available on historic. So it's we're a little bit confused as to some of these changes, but I'm sure most of them have a purpose. Or we'll hopefully they're saying to expect more details.
I actually have a conspiracy theory that Chev does not want to give the light of day, but I'm kind of wondering if originally Wizards had these arena cards, and then they were like they wanted to spice things up a little bit, so they're like, oh, we'll just swap these we'll swap
Ooh,
in Path to Exile and Lightning Bolt, and either they didn't
yeah,
get it turned around to the coding team in time, or the coding team was like, nope, we already did it, we're done. So I
Yeah.
think that would
No,
be
I
a
like
good
that because that's almost exactly what happened with Ultimate Masters when they decided that Ultimate Masters was going to be the last master set for a while. They just started filling it with content, which made it one of the best ones that we've ever seen. And it was like everything that they were expecting from previous sets. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like that, trying to get more access to reprints to the kids.
I mean, we love reprints, so we'll take this however we can get it. Um,
Yeah.
the next update is something that Chev is super hyped on, and I'm hyped on because I want to play more. Brawlers Guild Hall, the Brawl queue as it would be, is
Very hype.
coming forever. It is. They were doing this thing where they would introduce it for a bit, and then once COVID happened, they were like, here, have this for a full month or two, and then they renewed it, and now they're just like,
Yeah, it was you could pay 10,000 gold to play Brawl for a month, and if you got one win during that time, you got a legendary creature that would be legal in Brawl. And I'm still not 100% sure on the legality of these creatures because like they're not historic, they're not standard, so I don't know when they rotate in relation to all this. But remains to be seen. So I am interested to see if that program will continue. But yeah, the Brawlers Guild Hall is no more. And instead of just being able to play Brawl on Wednesdays, Brawl will be available consistently, which is pretty fantastic. As some of you, who have spent more time on the website might know, I love playing with new Brawl builds, especially my new Alayla and Siona decks. I find those a lot more fun and interesting to play than my Kennen deck, which just obliterates. Not really due to any prowess of my own, due mostly to Kennen being absolutely insane. But the more I can play Brawl, the merrier, and I hope they keep it up with these wild legends that come out, once a month. But I'm excited, and it sounds like they're doing more with historic Brawl, which if you can put two and two together, is going to be where all of these new cards are going, as well as everything that rotates out of standard in the fall. I haven't dabbled too much in historic Brawl. It's never around enough for me to kind of want to play with, since I always think that the amount of time I put into the deck won't equal an amount of excitement out of it. But I am interested to see how that develops further.
I think you have to play it now just because now in Kinnan you can play Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah, no, that's Kennen in historic will be insanity, especially with Allosaurus Shepherd. We might have to brew something up and see how absolutely disgusting it is. It might be
I'm
my
ready for it.
goal.
My body is ready. I'm mentally ready. I'm emotionally ready. Please just do it. All right. And then the last part of this state of the game is just discussing. Oh, sorry. There's two more parts. Let's talk about the deck builder. So Wizards is changing their deck builder interface on Arena. They are adding a thing where you can increase the space where you can see where your cards
Yeah,
are in your curve, so it's no longer just limited to like that bottom third of the screen. You can actually pop it up to essentially the whole screen, which is nice because sometimes it can be hard to see um, all the cards that you have in there. So that's a nice little uh,
especially in limited where
add-on.
you're kind of like time sensitive and you want to be able to see everything at once and pull it together.
Right, exactly, and you have more one-ofs there, so they kind of pile up.
Right.
And then also they are adding in a larger search engine. So if you want to do something more like a gatherer search, or I'm assuming they based it off gatherer. Um, yeah, it
Yeah.
appears so. So you can do a little bit more intensive of a search as opposed to just the searching by colors, searching by card type that they had in there anymore. So just more ease of use, which we always love to see. Good on you, Wizards. Just keep adding this stuff in, make the UI better and more convenient for everybody.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is just discussing rotation. So rotation's coming in the fall, and they're just kind of outlining what the events will be. Um, is there anything big that you want to talk about, Chev, on this road to rotation section?
I don't think there's much. Just that if you're existing players, you're going to get the new player decks that come out in August 2020. I know I deleted mine, so I am excited to get those back, just as a quick way to fill out the quests in MTGA. Because sometimes I definitely struggle with those, or have to throw together some brawl deck to eke out enough played cards to get my gold.
Right.
So I'm excited to have those back and maybe boost them a little bit in power level. That's always fun. But especially there's one particular thing that's coming in August that has me really excited, and that would be Amonkhet Remastered coming out. Now they mentioned this was coming out a little bit ago. I believe it's going to be Amonkhet and Hour of Dev, um, which are the two sets that kind of came out before Arena, but they were phenomenal. I believe that Julian and I did the pre-release together with a couple of our buddies for both of those. So I'm
Right.
really excited to see those cards coming back, and I'm hoping that outside of historic, they have limited queues and sealed and all that good stuff with them.
Right. Yeah. Amonkhet is definitely a cool card pool. So I don't know if they're going to be adding Amonkhet limited events. That would be interesting, especially for people who did not experience that, because those were good formats. But these are now coming in. They will exist on here. They will be added into historic, so there's just more cards to play with. And also, this is nice because Wizards has been talking about backfilling sets onto Arena
Right.
and thus adding them into historic. And they've mentioned it, and we've always thought it was cool, but this is them now following up on that. So now that Amonkhet is coming, there's no reason why we shouldn't see maybe something like extra core sets as well as like Kaladesh and so on. So who knows how far back they'll go,
Ooh, yeah.
but the now that they've actually done this, I'm you know it sets a precedent. So it's nice that they're doing this. It's nice that these cards are going to be added. And I know there are a lot of players that just started playing in the last year or two, especially on Arena. So them getting able to see these cards is just once again, it's
Yep.
just better for the game that they get to experience all these things that those of us that have been playing a little bit longer have experienced. So, um,
Yeah. I think that about covers it for what we were thinking about talking about.
yeah, this has been an exciting cast. There's a lot to talk about, a lot going on, and obviously
Hmm.
new cards are always fun. Uh, so thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I
Check
think
out
I think the only thing I want to say, of course, is with Core 21 coming out tomorrow, being June 25th. We'll also be trying to put together our own pre-release event of it on Arena. So I'm not sure when we'll get that full stream up, but stay tuned for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, I would say definitely try and check out the Brew Crew on Twitch. We'll be streaming it there. If you don't know when we'll be streaming, you should follow us on Twitter. And then if you can't check it there, it will be on our YouTube, and we'll probably have a link to it on our website, brewcrew.net. So
Definitely.
shameless little plug. Go check us out in those places. Once again, all those links will be in the description of this video anyway, so you can check them out. And that's going to do it for this week. We thank you for joining us, and stay tuned until next week, and we'll get you some of that more delicious content. All right, have a good one, everybody.